October arrived, spreading a damp chill over the grounds and into the castle. Madame Pomfrey, the nurse, was kept busy by a sudden spat of colds among the staff and students. Her pepper-up potion worked instantly, though it left the drinker smoking at the ears for several hours afterwards. Jenny Weasley, who had been looking pale, was bullied into taking some by Percy. The steam pouring from under her vivid hair gave the impression that her whole head was on fire. Raindrops the size of bullets thundered on the castle's windows for days on end. The lake rose, the flower beds turned into muddy streams, and haggard pumpkins swelled to the size of golden sheds. Oliver Wood's enthusiasm for regular training sessions, however, was not dampened, which was why Harry was to be found, late one stormy Saturday afternoon a few days before Halloween, returning to Gryffindor Tower, drenched to the skin and splattered with mud. Even aside from the rain and wind, it hadn't been a happy practice session. Fred and George, who had been spying on the Slytherin team, had seen for themselves the speed of those new Nimbus 2001s. They reported that Slytherin team had no more than 7 greenish blurs shooting through the air like missiles. As Harry squooched along the deserted corridor, he came across somebody who looked just as preoccupied as he was. Nearly Headless Nick, the ghost of Gryffindor Tower, was staring morelessly out of the window, muttering under his breath, "Don't fulfill the requirements. Half an inch, if that." "Hello, Nick," said Harry. "Hello, hello," said Nearly Headless Nick, staring and looking around. He wore a dashing plumed hat on his long curly hair and a tunic with a ruffle, which concealed the fact that his neck was almost completely severed. He was pale as smoke, and Harry could see right through to him the dark sky and the torrential rain outside. "You look terrible, young Potter," said Nick, folding a transparent letter as he spoke and tucking it inside his doublet. "So do you," said Harry. "Ah," Nearly Headless Nick waved an elegant hand. "A matter of no importance. It is not as though I really wanted to join. Thought I'd apply, but apparently I don't fulfill requirements." In spite of his airy tone, there was a look of great bitterness on his face. "But you would think, wouldn't you," he interrupted suddenly, pulling the letter out of his pocket, "that getting hit 45 times the neck with a blunt axe would qualify you to join the Headless Hunt?" "Oh, yes," said Harry, who was obviously supposed to agree. "I mean, nobody wishes more than I do that it had been a quick and clean, and my head had come off properly. I mean, it would have saved me a great deal of pain and ridicule. However," Nearly Headless Nick shook the letter open and read furiously, "we do not only accept huntsmen whose heads have partly accompanied with their bodies. You will appreciate that it would be impossible otherwise for members to participate in the hunt activities such as horseback head juggling and head polo. It is with the greatest regret, therefore, that I must inform you that you do not fulfill our requirements. With very best wishes, Sir Patrick Dinelly Podmore." Fuming, Nearly Headless Nick stuffed the letter away. "Half an inch of skin and sinew holding my neck on, Harry. Most people would think that's good and beheaded, but oh, no, it's not enough for Sir properly decapitated Podmore." Nearly Headless Nick took several deep breaths, and then said in a clear, calmer tone, "So, what's bothering you? Anything I can do?" "No," said Harry, "not unless you know where we can get 7 free Nimbus 2001s for our match against The rest of Harry's sentence was drowned out by a high-pitched mewling from somewhere near his ankles. He looked down and found himself gazing into a pair of lamp-like yellow eyes. It was Mrs. Norris, the skeleton gray cat who was used by the caretaker, Argus Finch, as a sort of deputy in his endless battle against students. "You better get out of here, Harry," said Nick quickly. "Finch isn't in a good mood. He's got the flu, and some third years accidentally plastered frogs all over the ceiling in Dungeon 5. He's been cleaning all morning, and if he sees you dripping mud all over the place—" "Right," said Harry, backing away from the accusing stares of Mrs. Norris, but not quickly enough. Drawn to the spot by the mysterious power that seemed to connect him with his foul cat, Argus Finch burst suddenly through a tapestry to Harry's right, wheezing and looking wildly about for the rule breaker. There was a thick tartan scarf bound around his head, and his nose was unusually purple. "Filth!" he shouted, his foul quivers, his eyes popping alarmingly as he pointed to the muddy puddle that had dripped from Harry's Quidditch clothes. "Mess and muck everywhere! I've had enough of it, I tell you! Follow me, Potter!" So Harry waved a gloomy goodbye to Nearly Headless Nick and followed Filch back downstairs, doubling the number of muddy footprints on the floor. Harry had never been inside Filch's office before. It was a place most students avoided. The room was dingy and windowless, lit by a single oil lamp dangling from the low ceiling. A faint smell of fried fish lingered about the place. Wooden filing cabinets stood around the walls. From their labels, Harry could see that they contained details of every pupil Filch had ever punished. Fred and George Weasley had an entire drawer to themselves. A highly polished collection of change and manicules hung on the wall behind Filch's desk. It was common knowledge